let the record show this moment. This is not an age, but a single decade, a mere breath in the long count of centuries. Here, at the turn of the 6th century before the Common Era, the world is being remade. The witness is called to see 3 dramas unfolding, all on a single stage of time. In the East, you see the immense weight of empire. In the West, the birth of an idea. And in the South, the endless contest of ancient crowns. Each is a different expression of power. Each is carving its story into the very memory of the earth. Our chronicle turns first to Western Asia. Here, the Neo-Babylonian Empire commands the horizon itself. All lesser states exist only by its leave, and all defiance is met with its unblinking, methodical wrath. The kingdom of Judah dares to dream of its own authority. A new king, Jehoiachin, sits the throne. But defiance, it has a price. In the year 597 BCE, the legions of Babylon arrive. The siege is short. The outcome, preordained. On the 16th day of March, Jerusalem falls. This is the cost of rebellion. 10,000 souls are taken. Not the peasant, not the laborer, but the kingdom's very mind and hands. Its royal court, its master craftsmen, its scribes, and its soldiers. The entire machinery of a state, surgically removed and sent into exile. You see, Babylonian power isn't just about destruction, it is about remaking. King Jehoiachin becomes a prisoner, his name a fading memory in his own land, and in his place, Babylon installs another, Zedekiah, his uncle. A king in name, but a vassal in truth. Judah's sovereignty is hollowed out from the inside. And now the chronicle shifts its gaze. We turn from a war between empires to a war within the walls of a single city, a conflict born not of armies, but of injustice. We arrive in Greece. Here, the city-state of Athens is sick with a sickness of its own making. It stands on the very precipice of civil war, threatened not by some foreign king, but by itself. The social fabric has completely unraveled. The aristocratic class holds all the wealth, all the land. The poor fall into debt, and the only collateral they have left is their own freedom. Families are broken. Citizens are sold into foreign bondage. The state is poised to consume its own people. But out of this crisis, a new kind of power is summoned. This is not the power of the sword, but of the word. One man, Solon, is appointed archon. He enacts a single powerful decree, the Seisachtheia, the shaking off of burdens. It is a revolution by legislation. The chains are broken by law. Every debt is forgiven. The practice of enslaving your own people for money is forbidden for all time. Those Athenians sold abroad are to be found and brought home. In this one act of radical reformation, a city saves itself, and in doing so, the very first seeds of a future democracy are sown. The scene changes once more to Africa, to the River Nile, the lifeblood of 2 ancient powers, locked in a timeless struggle for dominance. A new pharaoh is crowned in Egypt, Psamtik II. And like so many pharaohs before him, his ambition flows southward, up the Nile, toward the rival kingdom of Kush. The old contest is renewed. The campaign is decisive. The Egyptian army marches deep into Nubian territory. Their target is Napata, the ancient capital, the religious heart of the Kushite kingdom. The city is taken, and it is plundered. Egypt's dominance is asserted in fire and stone. The consequence is profound. The sacking of Napata forces a migration. The Kushite court must abandon its ancestral home. It moves further south to the more defensible city of Meroë. An entire civilization's center of gravity is shifted by the force of an invading army. And so ends this chronicle of a single decade. 3 expressions of power witnessed in parallel. The brute force of subjugation, the restorative power of law, the relentless pressure of expansion. The witness is left to consider which method truly endures, which force alters the future most irrevocably, and which of their echoes carves our own world still. Before the world was new, it was old, and its masters believe their reign eternal. Witness the world in the year 574 before the Common Era. It is a world carved from stone, governed by powers that seem as ancient and as immutable as the mountains themselves. Their empires are monuments to permanence. Their dynasties a river flowing since the dawn of memory.
This is a world ordered by giants. In the Fertile Crescent, Babylon, along the life-giving river, Egypt, and in the eastern highlands, the Empire of the Medes. Their works are mighty, their traditions rooted in the very soil of civilization.
In Mesopotamia, the Neo-Babylonian Empire reigns supreme. For 13 long years, the city of Tyre defied its might, but in 570, the walls fall. The wealth of the Levant now floods the coffers of Babylon. Its dominion is absolute. To the south, along the eternal Nile, the rhythm of ages beats on, unbroken. In 570 BC, a new pharaoh, Amasi II, takes the throne. He is but the latest link in a golden chain of kings stretching back into the mists of time. Egypt endures. And to the west, among the fractious city-states of the Hellenes, a different kind of power is being forged, not in conquest, but in culture. They compete in trade and war, yes, but in 573 BCE, they gather at Nemea to found games in honor of their gods and in celebration of themselves. The decade passes in a familiar rhythm. New games are founded, old wars end, kings die and are succeeded. The world turns, but it does not change. This is an age of certainty. But look closer. On the periphery, beyond the great centers of power, history is gathering its strength. A deep change is stirring, a shadow in the east, unnoticed by the titans of the age. The throne of Babylon passes to a new king. In 556 BCE, Nabonidus becomes master of the world's greatest empire. But power does not guarantee wisdom. But this king is a reformer, a heretic in the eyes of his people. He turns from Babylon's chief god Marduk and gives his devotion to the moon god Sin. The powerful priesthood is spurned, the people murmur. A crack appears in the very foundation of the empire. 3 years earlier, in the eastern highlands, another succession, a lesser one. Cambyses, king of Anshan, a small vassal kingdom, dies. His son Cyrus takes his place. The event passes without notice. A ripple in a pond, ignored by the great ships of state. The contrast is stark. In Babylon, a superpower wrestles with internal dissent, its king at war with his own gods. In Anshan, a vassal king quietly consolidates his small domain, his only concern? Survival. As thrones change hands, a new light is kindled in the Far East. In 551 BCE, Confucius is born. The world is being remade, not only by the sword, but by the power of new ideas, and both will prove equally revolutionary. The quiet consolidation in the East is a prelude. The storm will break not in Babylon, but in the heart of the Median Empire itself. The old world is about to be shattered. The year is 553 BCE. The age of certainty is over. The age of iron and blood has begun. From the small kingdom of Anshan, the unthinkable. The vassal, Cyrus, rises in rebellion against his lord and grandfather, Astyages, king of the Medes. For 3 years, the conflict rages, a small Persian kingdom against the full might of the Medes. A war of survival becomes a war of conquest. In 550 BCE, the struggle ends. The Median army is broken. The empire of the Medes, one of the world's great powers, collapses. Its king is captured, its throne is taken. A new power rises from the fray. Cyrus, once a minor vassal, is now a conqueror. The lord of a small Persian kingdom is now master of a fallen empire. The hunter of beasts has become the master of kings. The fall of Media is not an end, but a beginning. It is the birth of a new idea of empire, an empire not of mere conquest, but of integration and control, one that will soon engulf the entire known world. This is more than a change of rulers. It is the dawn of a new vision. The art of this new dynasty will not just depict power, it will define it. It presents an ideal of kingship that promises order and dominion, a promise backed by the sword. The Achaemenid Persian Empire is born. In a few short years, a shadow in the east has become a firestorm. The world's balance is broken, never to be restored. The titans of Babylon and Egypt now face a new and terrifying force. The old world lies in pieces. The witness looks upon a landscape transformed, its future unwritten. A new age has begun, an age of empire, an age of war, an age of Persians.
Attend to this brief measure of time, a single generation, a span of just 25 years in which the very foundations of the world were broken and remade.
They believed their dominion was eternal. Lydia, Babylon, Media, Egypt, the great powers of the age, they were profoundly mistaken. The chronicles of this time are not written in ink, but in blood and ambition. They tell of a world convulsed.
From the rugged highlands of Persis, a new sun was rising. This was a power born not from the gold of ancient treasuries, nor from a long line of kings, but from something harder: sheer, unbending will. It began in 559 BCE. A man named Cyrus took the throne of Anshan, a minor kingdom, a mere vassal to the mighty Median Empire. But this vassal would not remain bowed for long. 6 years later, he rose in open revolt. The Median king marched to crush this upstart, but betrayal from within his own ranks sealed his fate. By 550, the old order was no more. Out of its dust, a new empire was forged, the Achaemenid. To the west lay Lydia, ancient, powerful, its vaults overflowing with the gold of Anatolia. Its king, Croesus, was the wealthiest man alive. And now he faced this new power from the east, a raw confederation of tribes, hardened by the mountains and unified by the relentless ambition of one man.
So Croesus, seeking certainty, went to the oracle at Delphi. The prophecy he received was shrouded. Cross the river Halys, the priestess said, and a great empire will fall. He heard what he wanted to hear. He saw the doom of Cyrus, and so he marched to war.
The prophecy was fulfilled, but the great empire that fell was his own. By 546 BCE, Lydia was a Persian province. All its legendary wealth now belonged to Cyrus, fuel for the fire of his conquests. And the Greek cities on the coast? They now bent the knee to a new master.
But Persia's rise did not happen in a vacuum. The shock waves of its birth were felt far beyond its new borders. Across the entire known world, a storm of change was gathering. The old powers were beginning to yield. So, as one empire was born in fire, what else stirred? Witness now the other currents flowing across the face of the earth. For in the tumult of this age, new men, new ideas, and new kingdoms were rising from the chaos.
Far to the east, in the lands of the Magadha Napata, the great realms of India, another power was consolidating. In the year 544 BCE, a king named Bimbisara started the rise of Magadha, laying the first stones of what would one day become the first great Indian empire.
Further east still, in China, a different kind of power was being born, not of armies, but of the mind. The old Zhou dynasty was fracturing, its authority fading. And into this world of strife, in 551 BCE, a child was born. We would come to know him as Confucius. His search for order in a broken world would echo through millennia. And in the West, in the fractious city-states of Greece, new forms of rule were being tested. A new kind of ruler, the tyrant, one who seizes power by his own hand. In Athens, a man named Pisistratus did just that, consolidating his rule and projecting his power even over the sacred island of Delos. And now, our chronicle returns to the world shaker himself, Cyrus. Having broken the West, he turned his gaze south, towards the greatest, richest, most ancient prize of them all, Babylon. But the eternal city was not what it once was. It was rotting from within. Its king, Nabonidus, had committed a grave offense. He had forsaken the city's patron deity, the mighty Marduk, and elevated the moon god Sin instead. This was sacrilege, and it turned the powerful priesthood of Marduk against their own king. Cyrus, you see, was a master of war, but an even greater master of men's hearts. He did not come as a foreign conqueror, no, he presented himself as the champion of the slighted god, Marduk, the chosen one, come to set things right. After one single, decisive battle at Opus, the Babylonian will to fight simply collapsed. In October of 539 BCE, the great gates of Babylon were thrown open. The city that had enslaved nations fell without a siege, in a single day.
But what followed was not the usual way of conquerors. There was no mass slaughter, no razing of temples. Instead, upon a small clay cylinder, Cyrus had a new vision of empire inscribed, a revolutionary idea. He would not destroy the gods of the conquered. He would not trample their customs. He would restore them.
In 538 BCE, this idea became policy. An edict went out. Exiled peoples were to be freed, and among them, the Jews, who had languished in captivity for decades. For them, the long exile was over. Cyrus commanded them to return to their homeland and rebuild their sacred temple.
And so, Cyrus had built it, the largest empire the world had ever seen. A new kind of empire. But even for the greatest of kings, the end must come. In the year 530 BCE, far to the east, Cyrus the Great fell in battle. The throne and the immense, unprecedented weight of his creation passed to his son, Cambyses II.
Only one of the old great powers remained untouched, the most ancient of them all, the sacred kingdom of Egypt. Cambyses, inheriting his father's ambition, now turned the legions of Persia toward the Nile. The end came with breathtaking speed. In 526, a new pharaoh, Psamtik III, took the throne. His reign would be one of the shortest in Egypt's long history. Just 1 year later, in 525, Cambyses invaded. The ancient kingdom fell. The line of native pharaohs was broken. Egypt, too, was now a Persian province.
Think of it. From the moment Cyrus revolted against the Medes to the conquest of Egypt was a mere 25 years. A single human generation. In that sliver of time, the entire map of the known world had been utterly and irrevocably redrawn.
An age of titans had passed. A new age for a new world had begun. And what was forged in that crucible of conquest and change would echo for the next 2,000 years.
25 years. A single human generation. In this flicker of time, the world is shattered and then remade. An empire is reforged in fire. A republic is born from revolt. Here, from the heart of Persia to the shores of the Mediterranean, witness the forging of a new world. In the east, the world's greatest empire teeters on the brink. The vast structure built by Cyrus the Great is about to be tested by blood and by chaos. The year is 522 before the Common Era. The line of Cyrus falters. His heir, Cambyses, is dead. Into this vacuum of power steps an impostor, the Magus Gauamata. He seizes the throne and rules through pure deceit. But from the shadows of the court, a kinsman of the royal blood emerges. His name is Darius. And through conspiracy and righteous violence, he rises to claim his destiny, proving that a throne won by conquest must be held by the blade. And so, from the whirlwind of rebellion, one man imposes his will. Darius crushes his rivals. He silences dissent. He takes for himself the mantle of the great king. But an empire cannot be held by the sword alone. It must be bound by structure, by law, by the very sinews of a unified state. So Darius weaves his web of command. He binds his domain with satrapies, provinces ruled by governors loyal only to him. He paves the royal road, a 2,700-kilometer artery of stone and dust, carrying armies and edicts with punishing speed. A single standardized coinage fuels the vast economy. A single language of administration, Aramaic, unites 100 different peoples under one rule. And at the empire's heart, a new ceremonial capital, Persepolis, rises, a breathtaking monument to absolute, unquestionable power. As the East consolidates under one will, a political storm breaks upon the West. Ancient thrones are not merely captured, they are shattered. Consider two cities. In Athens, the year 510, the tyrant Hippias is cast out by a popular revolt. Just 1 year later, in Rome, King Tarquinius the Proud is driven into exile by his own aristocrats. Almost at the very same moment in history, the rule of the one is broken. Something entirely new is about to begin. In Rome, they give their new state a name, res publica, the public thing. It signifies a radical departure. Power is no longer the private possession of a monarch. Now, it is the shared and often fiercely contested concern of its people. And in Athens, a word is forged for an idea still struggling to be born. Demokratia, the people's power.
It is a declaration that the people themselves, gathered as one, shall hold all authority.
The expulsion of a tyrant is not the end. It is merely the beginning. For in Athens, a profound political struggle is now unleashed. The year is 508. An aristocrat, Cleisthenes, emerges to take control. But he does not seize power for himself. In a move that will echo through history, he prepares to give it away. First, he shatters the old order. The ancient tribes, built on clan and family loyalty, are dissolved. In their place, 10 new tribes are created, mixing citizens from all walks of life. Then, he creates the Council of 500, with its members chosen not by wealth or birth, but by lottery. And finally, the assembly of all the people is empowered with absolute authority. In this moment, loyalty is reforged, and civic participation becomes the very foundation of the state. And so, two worlds now stand in opposition. In the east, an empire of unified command. In the west, a constellation of fractious cities, all experimenting with this dangerous idea of freedom. Their orbits are beginning to converge. 44%. This is the portion of all humanity living under the rule of the Achaemenid Empire. It is a figure unmatched by any empire before or since. The scale of this power is almost beyond comprehension. By 513, the great king's gaze turns west. His armies subdue Thrace. Macedonia is made a vassal state. The border of the Persian Empire now touches the edge of the Greek mainland. And the shadow of Darius falls across the Aegean. 502 BCE. In the small Ionian city of Naxos, a spark of rebellion, a single act of defiance against the might of Persia. It is a tiny spark, yes, but it falls on the dry as tinder, and a fire is about to be lit. A fire that will engulf the known world. The two worlds have met. A century of conflict is now inevitable. It will be a war not merely of nations, but of ideas. A war for the very soul of the West. What is forged in the fire to come will define the world forever.